R&B, hip hop, pop,
I still can't judge.
reggae, EDM, indie, old school,
Side. Check it.
and sports talk.
Powered by Celebrity Media TV.
You're listening to the Health and Wellness Show. I will be your host this afternoon. My name is Dr. Charles Wilkerson, and I am a chiropractor. I have advanced certification in Whiplash Injury Biomechanics and Traumatology. I have been in practice for over 25 years, and at our clinic, we do treatment for accident and injury patients. We also have a wellness side to the practice where we help patients recover from chronic illness using a natural approach. But on today's show, we will be talking about some of the things you need to know when you get hurt in a car accident. We will be discussing the type of treatment you need. Do you need to hire an attorney? And what you are hiring the attorney for? What to say to an insurance adjuster when they call? Diminished value of your car when it has been damaged. Do you know what that is? What happens when you have to take time off work? Will you get compensated for lost wages? Are you entitled to pain and suffering with your settlement? How minor impacts are viewed by the insurance company? Should you go to a chiropractor for your injuries? What is MedPay or PIP in your insurance policy used for? Or should you go to the hospital if your injuries are not severe? All of these topics will be discussed today, and I have special guests on the show today. But before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a chiropractor, and I've been in practice for, as I said earlier, 25 years or more. And how I got into chiropractic was really by accident. I really had planned to be a medical doctor. I came up watching shows like MASH and Marcus Welby, MD. I don't know, some of you probably are not old enough to remember those shows, but those shows inspired me to get into medicine. Mm-hmm. Well, I took a turn when I got into a car accident. I didn't know really what was going on. I got injured, and I really didn't think much about it at the time because it was just a minor rear-end collision. Mm-hmm. But I went and got treatment, and medical doctors, that's generally who we go to first for most of the things that happen to us. Mm-hmm. After about a year of, after that accident, about a year after that, I decided that, the treatment that I received from them was not addressing the symptoms that I had at the time of the accident. Mm-hmm. I was having neck problems. I was having shoulder pain. I was having numbness and tingling in my arms. And so going to my medical doctor, who wasn't able to really solve that problem, I was referred to specialists. Mm-hmm. I was sent to an orthopedist, and then from there I was sent to pain management docs. I was sent to neurologist, you name it. I was just passed around to different doctors. Oh. None of them seemed to really address my problem. They just said that it was something I would have to live with. At the time, wow. I was doing a job as a chemist, and I was having trouble performing my duties at the job. And one of my coworkers was telling me about a chiropractor. Well, I had never been to a chiropractor before. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know what a chiropractor was. Mm-hmm. So I said, why not? I mean, I'm having these problems with my neck and shoulder.
Excuse me, and I'm sorry. So at the time, Dr. Wilkerson, you were going to college to be a medical doctor, correct?
I had finished college, and I was working as a chemist, and I was applying into medical school. I was going to medical school to be a medical doctor. I had not been a student yet in medical school, but I was in the process of applying. And at that time, I was in a car accident. Okay. And, in between college and medical school, I took a job as a chemist. And it became really hard to do the work. I mean, some days I would call in because I couldn't function at work. It was just very difficult. The situation became hopeless.
So that's when your friend asked you to go see a chiropractor, and then that's when you decided you wanted to be it.
Yes, at the encouragement of my coworker, I decided to go see the chiropractor. And the first thing after doing the evaluation, the first thing the chiropractor asked me was, "Have you been in a car accident?" And I said, "Yeah, well, about a year ago, but I didn't think I was hurt that bad. I just didn't. I didn't really have symptoms that that I thought at that time were severe." And here it is a year later. Now I'm almost crippled from injuries that you're saying could have come from that car accident. He said, "Yes, I think so, because I was 24 years old." And he said, "I'm starting to see signs of arthritis in your neck." And I said, "Arthritis?"
That was the sign right there, was the arthritis?
Yes, arthritis.
To take it back to that accident?
Yes, yes. He related that to the accident. Now, he had nothing to compare my neck to before, because I've never seen this, never been to this chiropractor before. But after he took x-rays, he saw where I started to develop some arthritis in the joints in my neck. And he said that's where the problem was coming from. So there in my upper back. So he proceeded to treat me for these problems. And after maybe about 2 months, I was restored. I was completely restored.
Wow.
And it was just such an amazing experience to recover from something that I thought would really cripple me for the rest of my life.
Wow. So in the car accident, where were you wounded at?
Well, I had a neck injury. I had a whiplash injury.
Okay.
My neck was, I was hit from the rear. And I just had neck soreness at the time. It really wasn't a big deal. Occasionally I would have that numbness and tingling, a little neck pain. But, usually that goes away after a while. But, knowing what I know now, I just think that that was a wise thing at that time to see that chiropractor, because it changed my life. It so much so that it inspired me to become a chiropractor.
Okay.
That's what inspired me.
That's beautiful.
And I've seen thousands of patients injured in car accidents over the years. It's just been a wonderful experience to see people come in so much pain, and then after a short while you see that transition from being in pain to actually being well. Really without the use of drugs and medication in most cases.
Wow.
Now granted, in some severe cases you may need to refer. I do work with a group of specialists. I work with orthopedists, pain management specialists. I work with neurologists, just a whole host of medical providers in case my patients need those types of services.
Now, Dr. Wilkerson, some of the patients that come in your office, they always seem to want the pain to go away right away. So what would you tell people that has gotten into a car accident and they're in a lot of pain? You know how they do in the office. They always want something really quick. And then they'll try to stop going, and then you have to call them and explain to them they need to come back.
Is there a quick fix?
Yeah.
It just depends. It depends on the severity of the injury. It depends on history of the patient. Sometimes people have pre-type symptoms. They may have had previous neck problems or whatever. There's so many variables when someone is injured. We just treat each case on an individual basis. Some people do recover pretty fast. After maybe a week or two of treatment, they're out of pain. And some people I treat for 5 or 6 weeks, and they're just, they're better, but they're still struggling with recovery. So everybody's individual. You can't really just put everybody in a box and say that everybody's the same, because we all have differences, and there's different severities of injury. So yes.
So you have a love for the people. That's what I hear.
I have such a love for my
Yes,
patients.
he does.
Yes.
They are just, they come to you, they're in need. You can see it in their faces. They're in a lot of pain. They just want this to be over with. And we just try to console them and comfort them and give them that warm, fuzzy feeling each and every time they come into the office. And before they know it, they're smiling. They're living it up with the staff. It's just a wonderful experience to see that transition from each and every patient. It's just so rewarding to see these people come in and recover in this way.
And
That's nice. They're not just a number.
Exactly, right.
Because a lot of times people go to the doctor and they feel like they're just a number.
And
that there's not that caring, and it's your health that you're talking about. So you want somebody who is knowledgeable like you, but they also need that bedside manner too while they're going through.
Wow, and that's nice you said that, Rae, because that's why I work for Dr. Wilkerson in the office, and I work for many medical doctors from ICU. And I noticed about Dr. Wilkerson, I was thinking that same thing how you were. I would always say, why do the doctors come in the room so quick, and they're going out. But I noticed with Dr. Wilkerson, he takes time with his patients. At first I said, well, I haven't been here long. Maybe, he's just, I got to be here long just to see, it may not stay the same. And I noticed for 3 years working for him, he's been this same consistent doctor with his patients. Like, he takes time with them, and it's real. It's like natural. Like, I mean, his patients come in, and some of them come in from a bad accident, and they're like bending over, and you can't even touch them. They have so much pain, and they have bad attitudes. But when Dr. Wilkerson get a hold to them, and he starts treatment with them, they're all nice, and they're smiley, and they go out after they come see him for a while. They're walking like straight up, and they'll come back and apologize. Said, I know I was just in a lot of pain at the time. So that's why I think he is
and
great.
Another thing, when patients come in, they have a lot of questions. They need to know if they need an attorney. Well, we work with some of the best attorneys in Atlanta. We try to handpick. We have probably 10 attorneys. Some of the larger law groups are good. We love Motley and Associates. We love some other attorneys around that we work with. But we try to assist in that way. They'll ask these questions, and we try to guide them through the process. Sometimes you can settle cases with the insurance company without the need for an attorney. But
I did it.
We look at you did that, Rae?
See, that's the problem we getting now. And then a lot of the patients is like, well, we was in an accident, we settled the case, and they got
sometimes
money.
I mean, it could be good, but then it could be bad. I mean, it has its good and its bad. At least if you have an attorney, you know that you have someone who has your back, and they have the law behind them, where some people don't have the knowledge. I just so happen to have the knowledge, so I was able to do it myself.
And that's
why
what
that paralegal was so resistant when she came in the office, and we were like, but you need an attorney. She's like, no, I know what to do. I work for attorneys.
So she could do it
She was like you, yeah.
Well, we want our patients.
But we do need doctors.
Yeah, we do need doctors.
Can't get away with it.
Yes, thank you for that, Rae.
Well,
thank
the
you
doctors
for
are the
saying
rainmakers.
that.
We get the patients well, and we provide the documentation for the attorneys to settle their cases.
Yeah.
So we just try to make sure that patients, when they come in, and if they do have a need for an attorney, we try to place them with someone that's that's specifically for what they need. If they need a litigating attorney, someone who doesn't mind filing lawsuits and going to court, then we know attorneys that can do that. And then, we just have good attorneys that we really like to place our patients with if they have a need for that.
Thank you for that, Rae, because, it's so funny, and they don't understand that the thing I love about Dr. Wilkerson is that he's a chiropractor and a wellness doctor, but his bills are not sky high. Most of the time, if you see Dr. Wilkerson bill go over $4,000, $3,000, $4,000, it's because most of the time the attorneys are calling, asking, can the patient come back, for 2 or 3 weeks, and some say 3 to 4 weeks, and Dr. Wilkerson have to honor that.
We run into ethics situations there, so I try to treat the patient just until they get what they need, and then I release the patients. But also, some patients say, well, the insurance adjuster called me the other day. What should I say? We tell patients to let them know that they can speak with them about their vehicle repairs, but when it comes to their injuries or what have you, that they are seeing a doctor, and that's really all the insurance adjuster needs to know. Sometimes the adjusters, they're poking around trying to see what they're going to be out of for the insurance company, and they're trying to see how they can minimize a claim. And so we tell patients to be real careful with that, because they're on a fact-finding mission. They're trying to see what they're in for. So we advise patients on that. Another thing that comes up sometimes with patients, and most people don't know this, is diminished value.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
When you say diminished value to people, they say, well, what is that? Well, when your car is damaged, it's less valuable. And the insurance companies are really supposed to compensate you for the difference in what your car was worth and what it's worth after the damage. And oftentimes they won't tell people that they are entitled to this. So I remind them, I said, did you talk to the adjuster about your diminished value? and they said, thanks, Dr. Wilkerson. I said, yeah, they sent me a check for the difference. Yeah. So I think that's really helpful when people can take advantage of that diminished value. Granted, the insurance companies will never tell you you're entitled to that, so you have to ask for it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Another thing that comes up too is, minor impacts. I actually go out of my office and look at car damage when someone walks into my office.
All around guy.
Yeah, I was like,
checking out the vehicle, the spine.
In my younger days, I worked at a body shop, so I do have some knowledge of damage.
See, okay, we didn't know that. Okay, that's something new about that. So, Rae, what do you, with Dr. Wilkerson saying that, what do you think about patients that have like no damage on their car? So that's what Dr. Wilkerson is saying. He go out and look, and sometimes they have just nothing. You can't tell anything. Would you?
All I would just say to people is that, if you're hurt, get the treatment that you need.
Okay.
Don't try to sit there and act like you have all this treatment, a broken back, and then you have $50. You have $50 in damage.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna come out. So you definitely want to be honest with anything that you're doing. You want to be honest and get well.
Well, here's another thing that I've seen that the insurance companies will do. They will underestimate the damage to your vehicle for a reason. And they do that to keep the bodily injury claim down. Here's what they do. Let's say, for example, you go in, the adjuster comes out, looks at your vehicle, and he says, oh, you have $900 worth of damage there. We always tell the patients, take the car to a reputable body shop, preferably the dealer. Let them take a look at it, because sometimes when they do a tear down, they'll find things wrong with the vehicle that the adjuster didn't see. So that $900 estimate, sometimes they're saying, we'll cut you a check today. So if you take that check and don't get the repairs done on your car, then you take your car later and get it estimated, and the body shop says, well, you got $3,000 worth of damage here. That puts your bodily injury claim in a whole different category. Insurance companies have scales that they go by. There's a minimal damage, and that drives the bodily injury claim. Because the adjusters for the bodily injury claim can always come back and say, well, that was only minimal damage to the car. How can there have been so much injury? So we always advise patients to take their cars to a reputable body shop and get the proper estimate, because the adjusters are hoping you'll take that $900 check and spend it. And that way they can lowball you on your bodily injury settlement. Another thing too is a big thing that's come up recently is about going to the hospitals. Now, if you've been in a serious car accident, your arm is hanging off, and you got a broken leg, you got to go to the hospital. But if you're just sore and stiff and achy, and sometimes you don't feel real bad until the next day after a car accident, that drives a lot of people to the hospitals. We would recommend to keep costs down to maybe go to urgent care if you can't get into the chiropractor. Urgent care's fees are going to be a lot less. Essentially, what they're going to do at an urgent care is give you pretty much what they would do for you at the hospital. They'll examine you and give you some Motrin and tell you to follow up with someone. They can do that at an urgent care. Sometimes at the hospitals, when you go in, they'll do the shotgun approach. They'll take every CT scan and MRI that they can think of, and you'll walk out of there with a huge bill, and those bills have to be paid. So we don't see patients a lot of times until after that. But just so people should know, if you don't have to go to the hospitals, the urgent cares are better.
But they also think, a lot of them come in and say, well, I was told to get a high bill. So a lot of them go to the hospital because they think they're supposed to have a high bill too, right? You know that, right? A lot of people think that. I was told that back in the days too, when I was young, in my 20s.
Go to the hospital.
They said go to every hospital, go get your bill, then the insurance company will pay you, and then you get that.
But people don't realize that that's coming out of your settlement.
And then they get mad. They'll say, well, I thought, why the attorney didn't give me this much money? And I'm like,
well, attorneys love it because they work off percentages, so they take theirs off the top. And a lot of times attorneys will negotiate. They will cut their fees somewhat to try to make the cases go. But those high bills have to be paid. And so running up high bills is always not the smartest thing to do.
They do it all the time.
So, but the personal injury business is a big business, and there's a lot of dishonesty going on in that business. There's a lot of people out there that's, doing things that are unethical. But, I try to run my practice in a straightforward, ethical way, give patients what they come in for, and people are happy and satisfied with the results that we give them when we treat them.
So what makes you different than the chiropractor down the street?
Right. Yeah,
I feel like I offer a good service, first and foremost. I bring over 25 years experience with personal injury. I constantly go and train on different techniques, new changes, new innovations, all the different techniques and things that are coming about, cutting edge changes in the profession. We are caring practice. We really care about our patients. We will bend over backwards to make sure that we give the service that they came for. I think that speaks a lot for what we're about. We just love our patients, and we like to see them do well. And I think that separates us from some of the people out there. Now, I'm not saying everybody's practice is not as good as ours, but we just try to do the best we can for our patients. And people know when you have when you're genuine and honest about what you're doing for them.
So what gives you joy about what you do, Dr. Wilkerson?
The biggest joy I get in practice is seeing children when they come in. We love children in our practice. We have babies that come in. I have a little 2-year-old right now, and actually her mom I treated her 2 years ago for an accident, and she was carrying a little girl. And so here it is 2 years later, she comes in with the little girl. They were in another car accident, and I'm treating the little girl. It's almost like the little girl, she was hearing what I was saying to the patient when she was carrying.
Oh yeah, he did.
Because she hops up on the table and she turns her head.
He just taps her feet. Yeah, he taps her feet and she just turns her head. He taps it again. She turns like a little lady.
I go home in the evenings with a smile on my face after I see the children. The children, they just make it so joyful to be in there, to see them come in, and we like to give them snacks when they come in. So that's a joyful part of my practice. It's also fun to see patients transition from being in so much pain to being out of pain. People come in, it's almost like the sun comes out for them. They come in, they got this smile on their face. I ask them how they're feeling today, and they say, oh man, I feel so much better. I don't know what you did, but you got me feeling pretty good today.
Oh, nice.
And I've never been somewhere where so many patients come back. Dr. Wilkerson, it is so funny. He have patients that come back, and I'm like, from 8 years ago, from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, a year ago, a couple months ago, because we do have a couple patients that come back, and they've been in another accident, like in a year, they've been in 3 accidents. But his patients come back, even patients I've never seen.
Treated right?
Yeah, they keep coming back. I've never seen nothing like that before.
Well, repeat business is really important. We just believe that if you give people 110% service, then they'll remember that, and they'll tell their friends and family and refer them, and they'll come back if they ever have a need. So that's what it is. That's what we see. We see a lot of repeat business. I have treated thousands of people around my office, probably within a 5 or 10 mile radius. And if any of them get into another situation, they'll generally come back. They'll call and they'll try to get back to me. I've even had them to drive all the way across town. They would have moved to the other side of town, and because they want that same service, they would drive from the other side of town to come see me. They'll drive past 100 chiropractors to come see me.
That speaks volumes.
It does. We have a guy that comes from Texas. He said he won't go see no other doctor. I cannot remember his name. He don't mind if we use his name either, because he's probably watching right now. He said he supports his doc. Bring him on. He comes from Texas. I'm serious. He comes to see Dr. Wilkerson. And also he had people that had sprains and from doing sports and
just all the way
across the globe. And I know everybody's like, okay, now who is this perfect doctor? Okay, you guys, he's not perfect, because there's one thing that I really didn't understand in the beginning working for Dr. Wilkerson is that he loved his patients so much. And of course it would irritate, the workers. He allowed them to come. In, like, he closed at 6 o'clock. And if the patients get off of work at 6:15, he will get us together if we even look like we're ready to leave. So, and we're like, Dr. Wilkerson, the office is closed at 6. We should be closed up everything at 5:40. I've never seen nothing like it before.
We have time to see one more patient.
Wait!
Patients first, right? Patients first.
So you guys, that's the only thing we didn't care about. Other than that, yes, everything else that this doctor does is like perfection. That's how much he loves his patients. But he let them come in after hours, and we're like, okay, we got to stop scheduling them, you know. But some of them say, well, I can't make it at 6 o'clock, you know, and that gets irritating.
That's
when you're ready to go home.
Being flexible with the patients.
Mm-hmm.
That's important too.
Yeah.
There's a whole nother side to it too.
Wow.
Like as far as with your business, the way you treat people with just things that they have going on in their body.
The
wellness
side of our practice.
Mm-hmm.
When we have patients fill out their intake forms, they list out any health conditions they may have.
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point during the treatment, I generally don't do it right away because, you know, I focus on their pain issues initially.
Mm-hmm.
But later when things are starting to settle with the patient, I'll ask them, well, you know, how long have you had this hypertension, high blood pressure? How long have you been diabetic? So we get in there and we address these questions with the patient sometimes. And sometimes they'll confess that, hey, you know, I wish it was something I can do to get off medication or reduce the amount of medication. And they would just express to me how expensive it is to, if it wasn't for insurance, they would probably not be able to get the medication.
Mm-hmm.
So we do science-based nutrition, and in that area of our practice, we do blood work. We send a patient out. I have my own special panel where we send a person out, and they'll do over 150 different markers, or check for 150 different markers to see what your overall baseline health is. And then we just start working it from there. We may do hair analysis, urine, and just get an overall assessment of the person's health status. In most cases, people can be, you know, brought back from serious illness, but it has to be, understood what really is going on. Most medical doctors, when they do blood work, they do what the insurance companies will pay. If the insurance companies are not paying for it, then they tell the patients, well, we just can't run that because that's not covered under your insurance. Our panels are not really under the insurance company's discretion. We really recommend patients pay for these panels out of pocket. They're not that expensive. The test that we run on our panels will cost over $2,000 if you had to get this done through an insurance or through your medical doctor, and our cost is nominal. We get these panels done for under $400. And from that, we can assess a person's overall health status and help them to take the necessary steps in a natural way. You may be deficient in certain minerals, certain nutrients, certain vitamins. You may have an excess of something. There are substances out there that can actually chelate out certain toxins in the body. So all of that, you may have a heavy metal toxicity. We find that out.
That's what I love
it's
about
like
that.
Allergies.
Yeah, that's what I love about that.
Tested for allergies?
Yeah, I
It's
love
that
that.
same type of thing in a different way, though.
Allergies can be caused from irritants in the body. Your
And that
body
health
is reacting.
panel,
Your immune system is reacting because there's something going on that's not natural. And so we root out what that is, and then we have a program or a report that's generated from that. And that report is basically a total overall, it's an overall report of your health status, side effects of any medications you're taking.
Yes.
It will also list out what supplements that you are deficient in and what supplements you need to be on to correct any imbalances in your body. If you need to be doing certain types of exercises, it will lay that out as well. It's just a wonderful program, I think, and I think it's a way for anyone who's interested, it'd be a good way for them to get their health back.
And what I love about it, Dr. Wilkerson, is that the blood panel, it has your name on it. It's your own personal booklet. It can save your life. We had a doctor, Dr. Wilkerson had a doctor that had ordered it And when he came back, his name was on it, his date of birth, and it had a lot of things that he had been eating. And he was like, oh, that's why this happened to me. So really, it's good to me, but I'm really not supposed to have it. Because this is what his blood was telling him, why he can't lose weight, why this is happening, why he's gaining weight, why is he losing weight. And so the blood panel, that's what I love so much about it, because it's actually your own personal book to help you in life. Like, you'll be like, why I've been breaking out from peanuts all the time? And it has it on each page. It's telling you what you shouldn't eat, what you can't eat, what you're supposed to be eating. Because you may think broccoli is good, but on there, your blood is saying no broccoli, spinach. You get what I'm saying? It's a personal view of your own life.
You'll start to see results, improvements in your health within a couple of weeks. Sometimes it takes a couple of months before you see results. But the important thing is that you are starting to reverse some of these conditions, because nobody gets through this life without being exposed to certain chemicals. Stress is a big factor there. So if there's something out there, a system out there that can help in a natural way to restore some of the normal functions of your normal health, it's been really good. It helps a lot of people. So
get that blood panel, you guys. You wonder what's going on with you? Call Dr. Wilkerson, 404-299-9066, and you will what, Rae?
You will know.
You will know.
So I really would like to get back to some numbers on personal injury. We started this conversation out today talking about personal injury, and I think the numbers are just staggering. But did you know that over 3 million whiplash injuries occur each year resulting from motor vehicle crashes? 3 million. Of these whiplash injuries, 500,000 people will develop chronic pain. And up to 300,000 will have some degree of disability. And apart from the effects of their health, there's a significant cost to society. About $43 billion total annual is what the cost to society is for this. So I just think that the consumers need to be educated about the issues surrounding whiplash injuries, automobile accident injuries, both concerning its treatment and, importantly, its prevention. One of the things I also wanted to talk about was the importance of having adequate insurance coverage. I know a lot of people are, when they go out and take their insurance policies out, they ask their insurance agent, am I fully covered? They say, oh, yeah, you're fully covered. But what we find in our office is a lot of people will come in and say, oh, I have full coverage. And we question that because there's a thing called MedPay. I don't know if people have really heard of that or know what that is, but it's a provision in your insurance policy that covers you. It covers you and the occupants in your car up to whatever that policy amount is. It could be $1,000. It could cover you up to $5,000. I had a State Farm insurance agent that treated with me for a couple of accidents. She had $25,000 med pay on her policy. Of course, she was an insurance agent, so she's going to have the most and the best.
Right.
But this is so important for people to know, because what if you were at fault and you got injured? Health insurance don't want to really mess with a car accident. They really will try to push that aside. Of course, you more than likely you could use your health insurance, but a lot of clinics like mine, we really don't.
Deductibles. People can't do it.
Yes, and you need treatment for sometimes up to 2 or 3 months to get over a car accident injury. So that is why it's so important to make sure you have adequate coverage, medical payments. And there are some states that have PIP.
Florida.
PIP is personal injury protection, and it's
Massachusetts too.
It's every
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts,
Okay.
It's for everybody. Everybody.
So
has
we'll
that
accept
protection.
somebody if they come down from Massachusetts. No, because they send people from California as well. They send people from Florida, California to his office, and they're like, "Oh, they have PIP," but
Well, Georgia had it up until 1991.
Oh, really?
And the insurance lobbyists got in front of our legislators down there and got that taken off the books. So now when you take out your automobile insurance, you have to ask for medical coverage, medical payments.
It's additional payment.
When I took out my policy with Geico, the agent was going over my coverages, and he didn't mention MedPay. I said,
What is that?
I said, why didn't you mention MedPay to me? He said, well, oh, I didn't think it was something that you really need. I said, you have health insurance, don't you? I said, well, I'm a chiropractor, and I see a lot of patients that come in here without that coverage. And really, I think it's a disservice to them if they don't have this coverage on their policies. And a lot of people don't know that they need this coverage, but it's the only thing on the policy that covers them.
So, okay,
and the occupants in their car.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Dr. Wilkerson, when you say that, we do have a lot of patients that come in, they say they do have medical payments, you guys, and they don't. Then they say they do, and they don't. So, we have people also that work at State Farm and said, no, that's not a question that we're going to ask them. So, if they do have it, they will tell them, like, they will ask them, excuse me, can you guys add medical payments on? You know, the med.
You have to ask.
Yeah, you have to, because I didn't know anything about it. And I called home. You have MedPay now? Yeah. Paul takes care of all of that. So when I started working for Dr. Wilkerson, I said, hey, Paul, you ever heard of this thing called MedPay? He was like, yeah, Tanya, I've been had that. So I was like, how much? And he was like, we good. So I said, okay, cool. So a lot of people don't know about medical payments. So when they sign up for insurance, they need to ask for MedPay. Can you please sign me up for MedPay? It's not a lot, you guys. You'll go to McDonald's, Burger King, and spend that money. It's arranged from $10 to $40, okay? I think the max
that could be coverage up to $5,000,
yes,
$6,000.
Yes.
And the good thing about that, too,
and it covers the vehicle you're in. MedPay covers the vehicle you're in. So if you have people in your vehicle,
Ray.
There's $5,000 in MedPay. They get $5,000 in
Everybody
MedPay.
is entitled to that same.
I get $5,000. You get $5,000.
And the good thing about that, Ray, too, is that when their case settles, if their bills are already paid, then that's money that won't have to come from their settlement check. So that money actually goes right back into their pockets. It's just so beneficial to have that. We encourage all of our patients to have that, to get that added if they don't already have it on their policies, because it just makes such a difference.
It really does.
It does. Go ahead, Ray.
I was just going to say, because even though you could have an accident that is like traumatic, like broken bones, lost your leg, something traumatic, that MedPay, you're only going to get a certain amount from that insurance policy.
Yes.
So if you have $25,000 in MedPay, that's going to help pay your bills so you can get the treatment that you need. So that's why MedPay is very important.
Do y'all hear that? And I noticed, though, in Georgia, and it could be all over, but is this certain area codes you think that do that? Because I know in Buckhead, just about everybody have medical payment. But when you're in a poor area or middle,
I think it's just lack of knowledge.
They said
I would say lack of knowledge.
It could be a lack of knowledge. It could be that insurance premiums are a little higher in certain areas. I think they do set insurance rates based on the area.
They do.
I've had an adjuster tell me, well, crime is a little higher in certain areas.
In Atlanta, so my insurance went up. Yes, from Kennesaw to Atlanta. Yes.
So that's I just wanted to mention that because I see that as a big problem for some people. And we've had people come in who were at fault, who actually caused the accident and had injuries, and they didn't have this coverage, and they had to pay out of pocket or just go or try to find treatment somewhere where they could be treated. I try to work things out with patients also when they come in. If they're out of pocket and they got these injuries, we will try to work with them with their finances. We even provide financing through, we have a financing source who can finance their treatment for them if they choose to do that. Care Credit.
What about
Care Credit.
One that will do
Care Credit does
it? He does Care Credit. He accepts Care Credit. Also, if you're at your job and you have a spending card, he do accept that. Because people think that Dr. Wilkerson supposed to do everything for free, and we hate to be mean, but he's been doing this so long, and you got to understand his hands. He does hands-on. Everything is hands-on. He don't shorten anybody. He makes sure, because we be like, dang, Doc been for a minute. Although he don't like to be long with his patients, but he's making sure that you're okay.
That they're thoroughly examined.
Yeah.
Another financing source, I'm a part of a group called the Injury Specialists, and we're a network of clinics. It's over 300 clinics. There are over 160 law firms that's a part of the Injury Specialists. They do have a part of that where they do offer financing to patients that are in hardship situations. They can't work. Their bills don't stop because you get injured.
Right.
So these financing sources are there to help them to pay their bills, and in return, when the case is settled, they get paid back from the settlements. So that's another good thing that patients have at their disposal. If they're, even if they were at fault or if they're not at fault. But if they're at fault, they generally don't have a claim to go after. So,
Exactly.
So are they still going to give them that loan?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, just wondering. Because is there interest on that?
There's always interest.
I heard it was.
But it's not as bad as some of these companies that are set up out here that these, I call
funding
them
companies.
funding companies. They have really, they'll loan you $1,500 and you have to pay them back $2,500. That to me is a bit excessive.
And you know what, Dr. Wilkerson, also, we need to talk about when you're in an accident and you come to the chiropractic doctor, you need to have your stuff in order. If you do not have MedPay on your insurance plan, you cannot think you're going to come in the doctor's office and get treatment for free. If you was in any other office, you would pay. So get that MedPay, have an attorney, because so many of them come in and they feel that Dr. Wilkerson is going to give them free treatment. And I know they're bent over and they're messed up, but we still have to do the business part of it because there's so many people that back in the day did work for and they didn't get paid.
And see, my staff knows
because when he see them
I was up on the front desk up there, I said, "Oh, just bring them on back. Let me see what I can do."
Yeah, he does that. Yeah, and he did that back in the days, and he had cases that were kind of like piling up that they wasn't paying. He would see them hurting, and he'll say, "Well, just send them back here." And you like, "Doc, we need to find out how you're going to get paid as well because they're getting paid. They'll get a check, and then they don't come back and pay Dr. Wilkerson." And people have been doing this all around the globe. So that's why we have to shut it down. If they don't have medical payments, that's the importance of medical payments. Because if you haven't decided on an attorney yet, then if you have MedPay, you can be seen.
Right,
but they always
you won't
think
need
it's
an
free.
attorney because your bills are going to be paid. But
right, exactly, that's true.
The problem we run into with liability cases is the insurance companies. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them are not willing to pay the doctor bills when the patients are treated, when they're just treating without an attorney. The insurance companies will generally contact the patient and say, "Oh, just go to the doctor and just have them send the bills. We'll take care of everything." But if it was that simple, it would be nice. But oftentimes when we talk to insurance companies, and I won't call any names of any insurance companies, but they say, "Oh no, we'll just settle with the patient. It's the patient's responsibility to come in and pay their bills." Well, that's well and good, but we don't run a credit check on patients, so we don't know if we're going to get paid or not in situations like that. So that's why we really...
So how do they handle the MedPay?
Well, the MedPay is filed as the patient goes through treatment. It's almost like billing insurance. We bill their insurance. It's like regular insurance. We bill it, and then the insurance companies will start paying on their claims. Now, lately what we've seen is there are some attorneys out there who takes the MedPay, and we are, we're working on that situation to try to see what can be done to resolve that. We just feel like the MedPay portion of the patient's treatment is an agreement between the doctor and the patient. And the attorney sometimes will say, "Well, we have all these bills, we have hospital bills," and you can see where they may be justified in that. So, we're just trying to gather as much money as we can. But the problem sometimes arises is at the end of the year when tax time comes around, they use my tax ID number for that payment. And if that check went to the attorney's office and it was neutralized to pay the hospital, then I'm paying taxes on money that I never received. So we're trying to work that out. Our legal, Georgia Chiropractic Association is trying to work that out. Our legal people there are trying to work that out with the legislature on that. Wow. But I think that's going to get resolved soon.
And the hospital eats that MedPay up right away. The hospitals do not play. It's sometimes we done sent the MedPay, and they'll say, "Oh, the hospital came and just ate it right on." The hospitals.
But that was that first treatment. I mean, you got to think about it.
That's true too.
Well, sometimes the hospitals triage patients, and sometimes they do what they consider to be a full workup on them. And that may include MRIs or CT scans.
I never thought of that.
That can run up into a lot of money. So it should be first come, first served with that. If the hospitals get there first to get paid, then more power to them. But we like to see our patients have that type of coverage.
We like
because
everybody to get paid. Get that $25,000 and you can get everybody paid. And everybody's happy then, right?
That's true, sweetie.
Well, I'm
Wow.
excited to be on the radio. I feel like I have a lot of information to share with our listeners.
Yes.
We have a lot of interesting topics. We have just scratched the surface today. I thought personal injury would be a good topic to start off today with. You'll discover more and more about me as we do later shows. We're going to get into more of the functional medicine, science-based nutrition on some of the shows. I plan to have guests on the shows who can share, medical doctors perhaps, who can share their perspectives on health. So we're excited about being on the air to bring this information forth. We think it's timely and it's needed.
Yes.
So, and I do want to thank my guests today, Rae and
Latonya Rae, it's your World Star girls in the building. What?
They are very professional at what they do, and I don't mean just in the entertainment area. They are very professional in the personal injury business. That's why I wanted them on the show today.
Aww.
They had a lot of good information to share today. And I just appreciate them for being here today.
We're happy that you had us here today.
You guys, y'all got to keep tuning in on my brother's show and my sister's show. Owen Wallace and Martha Wallace on Vision 105.1 FM radio. Your boy, Dr. Charles Wilkerson, one of the greatest chiropractor and wellness doctor, will be in the building. So, Dr. Wilkerson, have you found out what days you're going to be on?
Yes, the show will be aired on Sundays between 4 and 5. Every Sunday.
Sundays 4 and 5.
We plan to kick it off and hopefully provide lively conversation for our listeners, something that they can take away and use. I plan to offer a lot of practical ideas, things people can do at home to help with their health. You don't always have to run to the doctor.
Dr. Wilkerson, thank you. A lot of times, I know Rae, oh, goodness, she don't like doctors either, okay?
I don't like
she
dentists.
Like me.
I don't mind the doctor. I don't like the dentist.
No, she don't like dentists. Look, well, I didn't like the doctor. The dentist, nothing, okay? And so what I do, even now, I'll Google if something wrong with me, I'll say, home remedies. So a lot of us.
That's what's going.
Yeah,
you look on Google, I try to stay away from there. They're like, I'm like, all the symptoms that play into.
No, but I get home remedies. But I do believe go to your doctor, your gynecologist.
Yes, you
women,
do have to go to your
men
doctor.
need to be seen as well. But we're talking about when you're.
But I mean,
accident.
home stuff like you're talking about, even like water, how important drinking water is. You know,
and just little things that come up, like remedies for something as simple as a sore throat or a neck ache or something. Some things you can do to help with that. I'm going to also be offering tips on exercise. Now, it's not for everybody.
We don't want to talk about that.
But our bodies work so much better when we move our bodies. And it's so important to have some form of activity. Walking is good. It don't have to be physical exertion exercise. Just moderate exercise sometimes is sufficient. And you know, it is age dependent. Some of our seniors are not able to really get in the gym and do some of the machines and the physical work. Well, there are some things they can do at home. And if they're interested, if some of my listeners are interested, I can offer some or send them some tips on things they can do to get to moving at home.
So your show is going to give people, what you're saying is give people things that they can do at home that they don't have to pay for, that they could just get from listening to your show. You repeat that, Doc.
Well, I'm not saying don't go see your doctor.
No, just the little, the stuff that you can do at home.
Yeah,
you definitely should see your doctor
just
for what
little
you need
things, just simple things you can do around the house to offset sometimes even a back problem. I had a gentleman come in the other day, and he said when his back goes out, sometimes what helps him is he gets on a traction table, and he got an inversion table at home, and that helps to get him through a period. And he said if it gets any worse, sometimes and he knows to come to the chiropractor.
Then he goes to the doctor.
Yeah, but if it gets him through that little period where he didn't have to go and make that doctor visit, I think that's a good thing. It saved him some money, and it saved him some time.
Yeah, because he get a lot of patients in there, especially women with sciatica nerves. He get cancer patients. I mean, pregnant women that's been in car accidents. Yes, all of that. Thyroid, he get it all. You name it, and he'll let you know. Look, I can refer you out to see an orthopedic. I can refer you out to do an MRI. So he do let them know after the X-ray. He let people know.
Yeah, the more serious injuries, if I suspect,
he won't try to treat anything.
The more serious injuries, if I suspect a torn ligament or herniated disc, normally I'll know after about 2 or 3 weeks of treatment if that patient is coming out of it the way I think they should. If I see where they're not responding the way I think, then I suspect there may be something a little bit more serious going on. So in that group of doctors that I work with, the injury specialists, I have pain management docs, orthopedic docs, just all over Atlanta. So sometimes it's area specific too. MRIs, I can refer out for those if a patient needs those. So again, we're just excited to be bringing this information to the
world.
To the world.
Right. Thank you. Right to the world.
And I just. I'm excited to be here. Yeah. I'm excited to have this opportunity.
So, oh wow. I'm sorry. So where have you been all our lives, Dr. Wilkerson?
I have been busy.
Studying.
I have been busy finding ways to stay healthy myself. I am 65 years old.
Wow. And could you have a book coming out soon?
I'm working on books right now.
Okay.
I take no medication, never have.
Yes.
And so I feel like I've found ways to stay healthy.
Yes.
I do work out. I do work on my nutrition, stress control. These are all important things that I think people need to know. And that's what I plan to bring on the shows coming up.
Yes.
So I want you all to listen in for some of these tips. A lot of things you may not have ever heard. And just stay tuned. I thank you for listening today. And I thank my guests for being here, Latonya and Rae. Good afternoon.
And next Sunday, 4 to 5.
And next Sunday, we're going to be...
It's hot in here.
It is hot in here.
No, I've been sweating.